What's up, guys? Simone Fan 101 here, and I'm back with another review with my until next Sunday when we get to Great Balls of Fire. My last WWE pay-per-view review that I have to do, which is Money in the Bank. Now, I'm sorry it took me a while to do this, but the last week or so has been pretty hectic for me. Ever since I recorded those 3 takeovers all in one day. Anyway, this is my Money in the Bank review. Overall, not the best show. It had 2 good matches, and that's about it. Well, 3, but one of them with a shitty finish. Or 2 of them with not so good finishes. So, let me get that out of the way. So, we start the show off, and this show is a lot like how Extreme Rules went, when, how you had an extremely underwhelming undercard, including a piss-poor or a somewhat piss-poor women's title match, and had an absolutely fantastic main event. Main event, both shows were great, but the undercard, not so much. So, basically, here's what happened. Well, first of all, just to get out of the way, the Hype Bros defeated the Colognes, Primo and Epico, in the opening match. Not the opening match, but in the pre-show. And I read a report recently that the Colognes are on their way out of WWE pretty soon. Good thing, too, because even though they're technically are good in the ring, first of all, WWE has done shit with their characters, has not protected them when they were being pushed a few years ago, mainly when they were tag team champions, and they just haven't been any use. Which is sad because, for whatever reason, WWE is killing its tag team division. They broke up Enzo and Cass, the Colognes are gone, and they're treating other tag teams like shit, and they're relying on New Day again. Not that I don't like the New Day, I do, but, you know, the prime of their act has come and gone. They're still good, but not as amazing as they once were, with absolutely fantastic segments almost every week. Now, I mean, I'm looking at the cards for both Money in the Bank and Extreme Rules, and my lord, is there really just a... I mean, look, underwhelming women's title match, good but not great tag team title match, and a fantastic main event. That was about what we got, with a few differences here and there, of course. Extreme Rules does beat out Money in the Bank as the better show, partially because The Miz and Dean Ambrose actually had a pretty good match, and not all the matches on the card, despite being underwhelming. The only one that was really shit was Alexa Bliss and Bayley. Here, there was only one match that I could really call shit, but you know, there was a lot more effort put into that show than this one. So let's just get this out of the way. Like I said, Hype Bros defeated the Colognes. I'm sorry to go off on a small tangent, but as you know, that's just what I do. The opening match was the women's Money in the Bank ladder match, and the winner, of course, would get a contract for at any time she wants, a Money in the Bank contract for the SmackDown Women's Championship. This is the first time it's ever been done for women on any kind of show. And the participants were Carmella, Charlotte, Natalya, Tamina, and Becky Lynch. Hang on. So, what do I think of this match? Well, this was a pretty good match, but it was also a pretty safe match. What do I mean by that? Well, what I mean by that was, there weren't a lot of bumps. Like you remember some of the bumps that the guys took in their ladder match, even on this show. but on other shows as well. You remember the bumps. The girls here didn't take any real ladder bumps. I didn't expect them to do moonsaults off of ladders or some crazy ass spots that only the most talented of male wrestlers can do. But I was expecting something like, I don't know, natural selection on a ladder, a power bomb on a ladder, I don't know, a moonsault. I'm speaking mainly from Charlotte here, like a moonsault on to someone who has a ladder on top of them, and just a moonsault that. I don't know, a sharpshooter through one of the ladders, because there have been times in ladder matches when they do submissions. But, or hell, Tamina was in this match. Why didn't she do a Superfly, as shitty as it was, as her move is, why didn't she do a Superfly splash on someone who was on a ladder? Or heck, whether they were on top of the ladder or the ladder was on top of them, she could have done that. Heck, it would have been the one time the move actually may have looked possibly good. But it was just mainly a bunch of safe spots. Not a lot of real spots. There was a spot, and this did look botched. I don't know if anybody else noticed this, but there was a botch where Charlotte had to spear Tamina into the ring steps. Sounds, fair enough, but it looks like she speared her and then had to push Tamina. I don't know whether or not Charlotte just hit the spear too soon or too late, or Tamina was just out of position. Knowing how the good workers they are, it was probably the latter. Because Tamina is not that good. Then Charlotte did that twisting moonsault, like she basically did the Twisted Bliss move onto both Tamina and Natalya. I'm glad Natalya was there, because knowing Tamina and her botches, previously, I probably would not have ended for Charlotte if it was just Tamina by herself. I'm glad Natalya was there to also cushion the fall. The match ended. Okay, this is how the match ended. So, this is your first... So, I get what they... Because keep in mind, this is like a week or two after... This is the week of the SmackDown Money in the Bank ladder match. And, well, what did they do? They, for the first ever Women's Money in the Bank ladder match, this is what happened. Carmella was down. Becky Lynch hit, I think she hit like an exploder suplex onto her. And what happened was James Ellsworth, who is technically, is Carmella's muse or her manager or whatever you want to say, knocked her over, right? So what happened was knocked over Becky, and this is what happened. He tried to get Carmella up, and then he climbed up the ladder, retrieved the briefcase, and then handed it down to Carmella. So, and all of a sudden, one of the refs called for the bell, but then there were three refs, remember, and all three of them were arguing with each other whether or not they were the winner. And basically, this is what happened. What happened is James Ellsworth got on the mic, he declared Carmella the new Women's Money in the Bank briefcase holder, and then they left. So, and in the weeks following, I get why they did this, because they wanted to get heat on Carmella, but and so that way she would win because a couple weeks later, I believe this week, as of recording this, she won the Money in the Bank ladder match a second time with interference from James Ellsworth, even though he was banned. But she did it more in a clean way. It was still technically a dirty finish, but it was definitely more of a clean finish than it was at the pay-per-view. Even though the match itself was not as good, ironically enough. So, so with that said, I get why they did it. Don't get me wrong, I get why they did it, but come on. It's your first ever Women's Money in the Bank ladder match. How do you fuck that up? Well, they found a way to do it. They found a way to fuck up the finish to the Women's Money in the Bank ladder match. And basically, the lasting legacy of the first ever Women's Money in the Bank ladder match is that it was won by a guy, technically. I get why they did it, because James Ellsworth is a freaking weasel, and Carmella will do anything to win. I get why they did it, because they wanted to get massive heat on her, and it worked, but at the cost of a lame-ass finish to the first ever Women's Money in the Bank ladder match. There were several ways you could have done this. You chose the worst way. Next match was the Usos defending the WWE SmackDown Tag Team titles against the New Day. This right here was actually a pretty good match. This was probably the second best match of the night, despite one major botch at the end. So basically, the match started off, and I gotta say, Kofi Kingston took a sick bump in the beginning. One of the Usos pulled down the ropes. Kofi went over, but he looked like the guy landed on the back of his head. And but the way he sold it, the way it was sold and the way it was taken, it was a sick looking bump. When I saw that, I'm like, holy crap! Is he okay? Like, is he injured? I don't think he got a concussion because, well, maybe he did get a concussion. I don't know. Anyway, and the match, it started off a little bit slow, but then it kept on building and building, and was coming up to a great climax. There were two things, however, that were really noticeable. One was when things were like, when they were it was just constant back and forth action. Like, my ratings was bumping up like by the minute. And I'm like, okay, it's getting better and better. And, you know, I had to rewatch it a second time just to make sure I was in the right frame of mind. And there was this one botch, a big botch. Basically, one of the Usos was going to go for a top rope splash, I believe on a Kofi. Because Xavier was at ringside. He wasn't competing. It was just Kofi and Big E. And what the spot was, it was going to be... And Big E did this before to someone else. They do a top rope splash. Big E catches the Uso in midair and hits a big ending. Problem is, either Big E was out of position, or one of the Usos overshot it. But when Big E tried to catch him, he fell over, and Big E had to fall down with him in almost like a power slam position, and then had to like strong arm him and pick him up, and then went for the big ending. But by that time, it was obvious that this was a mistake. It was a screw up. Match continued. It was still pretty good. Kofi did a swan dive, not like a backwards like a help me swan dive from the top rope to the Usos. They went in. They hit the God, what's the name of the finish? They hit the Midnight Hour. I believe it was actually Jey Uso that was gonna get pinned. They got Jey Uso. Then Jimmy pulled Jey out of the ring, and they basically walked out of the building and got the count-out finish, and the New Day won. Yet another good match, partially ruined. A really good match at that point, partially ruined by a lame finish. You're starting to see the pattern here. Good match equals lame finish, which is weird because the matches that should not have been as good or one of the matches that weren't as good had a straight up finish. And you know, on this week's edition of SmackDown, the Usos, they basically said, "We beat you." No, you didn't. But you know, Usos are heels, and yet New Day didn't actually say, "You walked out. Technically, we beat you, so we are owed a rematch." They didn't say that at all. That right there made New Day look like complete and utter fools. Anyway, continuing on. Next match was, oh, wow. Yeah, it's this match. The SmackDown Women's title match featuring Naomi defending her championship against Lana. Yes, Lana. The same woman who hasn't had a singles match on TV ever. The same woman who hasn't competed in a live match period since WrestleMania 31 over 2 years ago. Or was it, no, WrestleMania 32 over a year ago, when basically Brie Bella's retirement match. And yeah, well, first of all, this was not a good match. But to Lana's credit, it was not a bad match either. It was not it was mediocre as hell. It was not that good. But it wasn't complete diarrhea either. More on the bad side than good, but it wasn't completely terrible. And I'll give Lana that. She held her own. Although I will say, I think it's because they were able to maneuver the match in a way that had Lana in offense, but not offense very long. I'm looking at how long the match lasted. It only lasted about 7.5 minutes or so, or maybe less. But yeah, Lana, she did her own. She was flexible. She did that sit-out spinebuster move, which Naomi kicked out of. And then after I think she was going to do another one, Naomi countered, kicked her right in the friggin' head, I believe, pulled her toward the corner, hit the split-legged moonsault, and Naomi got the win. So, at least they made the right choice, and Naomi retained the title. Thank Lord. Because Lana didn't deserve a title shot, mainly because she didn't earn one. I remember on this, Naomi, although in defense, and a small defense, Naomi said, I want to wrestle her, I will put my title shot on the line, even though, you know, on that same episode of SmackDown, Mojo Rawley, he wanted a shot at the WWE Champion because, you know, he beat Jinder Mahal, which was true. He beat Jinder Mahal before he became WWE Champion. On Jinder Mahal's first night in on SmackDown, he beat him. And then, of course, the next week, Jinder Mahal, you know, got #1 contendership to become WWE Champion, and, of course, right now is WWE Champion. So, Shane McMahon basically said, I understand, but you have to beat Jinder Mahal again. You have to earn your WWE title shot. Yes, Mojo Rawley has to earn a WWE title shot, but Lana, who has no wins over anybody at all, automatically gets a women's title match. Yeah, there was a reason why someone online said that SmackDown, maybe the land of opportunity, but maybe not the land of common sense. Yeah, but oh, by the way, I almost forgot to mention. I think Lana had Naomi in a submission hold, and Carmella came out. You know, her music played and everything, and she teased going in and cashing in cashing in her contract. But she didn't, and then she left, and that was it. A giant waste of fucking time that was. A waste of time that was. Maybe that was just only trying to distract her from how inexperienced Lana obviously was. I mean, she was not Eva Marie, I'll give her that. She was not Eva Marie, or Dana Brooke, but, you know, it was not that good. Hopefully now they're having yet another rematch. Because they already had one rematch where Naomi squashed Lana. And now they're going to have a third rematch where Naomi again defends the title against Lana. Is Lana the only one going for the title? What about Natalya? I'm pretty sure Naomi and Natalya could have some good matches. No, it has to be Lana. And yet Rusev is gone. Where's the sense in that? Rusev is yet to return, even though we've heard several reports. Oh, Rusev's returning this night, that night. Nope. None of that shit. Yeah. As you can see, wow, damn, I gotta hurry this up. I've been rambling, obviously, but what can I say? I have a lot to say, and I haven't been on the show. I haven't been recording as much lately. Jinder Mahal and Randy Orton for the WWE Championship. I will say, this match was better than their match at Backlash, if just by a little bit. There was a little bit more fire. I just need to get really quick through this, but it was the same kind of match they had at Backlash. Started out with fire, with Randy Orton kicking ass. Jinder takes control and is working heat way too long. This match went 20 minutes. Jinder Mahal's not experienced enough to work 20-minute matches. At most, he should be working 13 to 15-minute matches. 20-minute matches are not his forte. Wow, and just working heat. Then Randy Orton fires back. The Singh brothers get involved. Orton kicks their asses. Mahal takes advantage, hits the Cobra Clutch Slam, and pins Randy Orton 1, 2, 3. It was the same freaking formula they used for Backlash. The only difference was that they were in St. Louis, and several legends, including Bob Orton, was at ringside. The Singh brothers, after they were caught cheating, were ejected by the ref, and instead of leaving, they decided to threaten to beat up Bob Orton. Randy Orton went over and kicked their asses to high hell, and then after beating their asses and saving his dad, he went in to finish off Jinder Mahal. And, they lost. And he lost, I mean. Yeah. That was pretty much the story. So, that a good match, but only solid. It was only a solid, 3-star match. Barely better than the last one. Better than the last one, but not by too much. Don't overestimate that. Next match, there was a skit earlier in the show. Called, it was one of those, Fashion Police skits. You had, Breezango and their office was attacked, a couple weeks ago, and then on the pay-per-view this night, they, were challenged by someone in a match, which was the Ascension. Even though, supposedly, if you listen to Tyler Breeze and what he briefly said what his attackers looked like, that it was not the Ascension that attacked the office, as confirmed the next week on SmackDown, or the next 2 weeks. But basically, Breezango came out, they were like, who did this? The Ascension came out, and it was really a couple weeks later that they wanted a match on the card. Well, can't fault them for that. You're on pay-per-view, you get a cut of that pay-per-view money. Fandango and Tyler Breeze, I'm glad they're not doing the, Tyler Breeze is undercover, he has a mop and like a track suit kind of thing, or he's dressed up like a woman. Because now they're actually wrestling serious matches. And thankfully they beat the Ascension fair and square, clean sheep in the middle of the ring. This was the only match outside of the main event and Naomi and Lana that had a clean finish. Carmella did not win her match clean. New Day did not win their match clean. In fact, they didn't even win the tag titles. Jinder Mahal did not win clean. So Orton got distracted. But yeah, so this match sucked. This match was fucking terrible. I mean, they went out there for 4 minutes, Basically, they went out there to kill time for the main event. Even though that time could have been devoted to the New Day Usos match, or like I'm glad they thought of. I am glad they thought of Breezango, Tyler Breeze and Fandango, to give them like a pay-per-view win. I am glad they thought of that, and I'm glad they're starting to get a little bit of a push and they're being featured on TV. But you could have done something better than this. You could have taken time out of the Jinder Mahal Randy Orton match and put it into this one, if you really wanted to have them pay-per-view and have a somewhat competitive match. Speaking of competitive, Breezango beat the Ascension pretty clean. Next, we had the men's Money in the Bank ladder match for the WWE Championship contract. AJ Styles, Dolph Ziggler, Kevin Owens, Baron Corbin, Shinsuke Nakamura, and Sami Zayn were all in the match. All of them made their entrances, except for Baron Corbin. Because what happened was, in the middle of Shinsuke Nakamura's entrance, Baron Corbin ran out and attacked Nakamura and laid him out for what was most of the match. This match went on for 30 minutes, or almost 30 minutes, if just a little under that. This match, straight up, this match was awesome. Maybe not as good as the Extreme Rules main event previously, but this match was pretty friggin' awesome. In my opinion, one of the better ladder matches that WWE has had. Up there with WrestleMania 21 and the SmackDown Money in the Bank in 2011. And, you know, those matches. And, these guys had a kick-ass brawl. Great moments. A lot of sick bumps. Like the AJ Styles bump when he was hanging on to the briefcase. That bump was so awesome. I actually feared for AJ's life. There was you know, Baron Corbin choke slamming AJ onto a ladder, which did not break. There was I believe again AJ Styles doing it was supposed to be an Ushigoroshi, but you know, with an Ushigoroshi, you usually lift up a knee. So basically he did like he stole John Cena's FU and just did it on the other side. Again, no, he did it on the other side. He basically stole John Cena's FU and put Kevin Owens, hit him hard against the table. The action here was really good. You know, good spots throughout the match. Sami Zayn hit a wicked sling shot powerbomb from the ladder to Dolph Ziggler. He landed a little bit awkwardly. I could tell by one of his feet. He landed a little bit awkwardly. I was like, oh, please don't break your foot. Please, dude, don't do it. And there was that. All of a sudden, Baron Corbin, you know, everyone's laid out. Baron Corbin's about to walk up the ladder. And then we hear Shinsuke Nakamura's music, and he's walking out, clearly hurt, but still ready to fight. Baron Corbin gets off the ladder, tries to throw the ladder at Nakamura from inside the ring. Nakamura is not having any of that shit, and he starts basically going in there and for the next 2 minutes just kicking ass. He throws Baron Corbin like through the corner or through the ropes, and it's a Kinshasa through the ropes. He beats up Dolph Ziggler with a... Oh, he also got Baron Corbin with this, but like that single leg drop kick thing, with basically got him with a flying boot, and he got Ziggler with a knee from the middle rope, and then got the Kinshasa. Had a little bit of back and forth with Sami Zayn. Then he got the exploder on Sami, hit the Kinshasa on him. Went to get a ladder. Kevin Owens was hanging on to the ladder, trying so hard. And by the way, Kevin Owens was battered at this point. Nakamura did a Kinshasa to him. Basically, Kinshasa'd everyone except for AJ Styles. As Nakamura was about to climb the ladder, Styles came up on the other side of the ladder. They were about to climb, then they just stared a hole into each other. They knocked the ladder. They basically moved the ladder aside, and they went mano a mano. And for a couple minutes there, it was just Nakamura and Styles back and forth. It was really awesome. and that's the first tease that we are eventually going to get a Styles Nakamura match. The climax of the match was anticlimactic, admittedly. It was. It was when they were on top of the ladder, they were constantly punching each other, they were beating each other. Baron Corbin comes in, knocks Styles and Nakamura off the ladder onto the ropes by tipping the ladder, and went up and grabbed the briefcase. The right man did win here. Baron Corbin should have won the contract. Out of everyone here who should have won, Baron Corbin was my number 1, and Sami Zayn probably would have been my number 2, with Nakamura maybe at a 3. But Baron Corbin should have won here. Really good for Baron Corbin. This will elevate him, and it means that most likely this guy's winning the championship. And as he should. He's been on a roll. I mean, he's not the greatest in-ring athlete, but he's surrounded by guys who are, and they can help him learn along the way. I know some guys like Brian Alvarez are not the biggest fans of Corbin, but I like him. I think the guy got really good. Not really good, but I think the guy got good to a point where he can actually hold his own against some of the other guys. So that was the show. Not exactly the greatest show, as you could see. Something held almost every match back except for the main event, which was sad because that's exactly what happened in the last show. Except that had a couple more good matches and a little bit more effort. Extreme Rules did, I mean. So that's the show. I'll have my ratings in the inbox. It was an okay show. Actually, take that back. It was a bad show. It was kind of a bad show. A bad show saved by a great main event, which made it more like thumbs middle. So I'll debate on the rating in a second for the overall. You'll see it in the inbox. Until next time, be well, stay safe, have a good day. I will see you next time with my NXT TakeOver Chicago review. Till next time, guys, I'll see you later. And peace.